Hello. I want to discuss the difference between being shy and being stuck up. Stuck up may be, I was going to say maybe it's a British concept, but actually I think in reflection it's used in North America as well. Um, I don't think this is so much a case of there's a thin line between the two, but rather there's a big difference between the two. A thin line between the two would suggest that one can easily morph into the other. I don't think that's the case. I've known both types of people in my life, so I've made some observations, and I wanted to know what other people think of this. So let's just break them down. And what is shyness? I think shyness can be defined. I mean, just for the record here, I'm not a sociologist or anything like that. This is just my opinion. But I think we can define shyness. We can recognize shyness as someone who is perhaps reluctant to speak to too many people at once, is perhaps a bit reluctant to show too much of themselves. Um, and being quiet is certainly a big character trait of being shy. Now, what reasons could there be for this? It could be a lack of self confidence. It could be a sense of self preservation, maybe not being sure if they can trust the person that they're speaking to or not. Perhaps as and something I have noticed, I've seen people who admit they're shy speak in videos, and so perhaps that's a comfort zone because being behind a computer screen is actually a bit different from the real world setup. And they've said sometimes it is a huge degree of self awareness. So I think there's a lot of those fittings come into what it is to be shy. Um, I'm not a shy person. I'm quite social in the sense that, and I don't even want to say shy people aren't social because I think that's slightly. I'll come back to that, but I think that's not entirely the case, and I think that's where a difference lies with shyness and being stuck up. But yeah, I'm not shy. I could talk to just about anyone. It doesn't mean that I'm never reflective, far from it. And it doesn't mean that I want to talk to everyone. There's people I do want to avoid, and there's people that I have no time for. But I'm certainly more of, I suppose you could say, an extrovert than an introvert. I am quite an open person, and I tend to, at parties, talk to different people. So that's, I would not say I'm a shy person, but I've known shy people, and I have to say that some of them have been some of the most decent, likable people I've ever met. Now, that's shyness. What about being stuck up? On the surface, it may seem like the two can get easily confused, and I have no doubt that there have been people who have just been shy, have been mistaken for being stuck up. But I think there's basic human communication that shy people also recognize, and it comes down to basic body language. It's not about getting into big, long conversations or opening up. It's about basic body language. For example, a smile. Now, someone who is shy can still smile if you say hello to them. Um, Someone who is shy can still be polite. Those sort of communication aspects are not necessarily missing with a shy person. But I think someone who's stuck up, I've known a few people like that, and the difference is they give the impression they're constantly miserable. Now, maybe they are constantly miserable, but as a form of communication, it can be very, it can make the other person feel very uncomfortable because then the other person starts to think, well, what's their problem? Have I said something to offend them? Have I done something wrong? And of course, this is not the case because stuck up people are basically selfish people. Um, I do think there's a big difference. A shy person would still recognize when someone's being decent to them. A shy person would still be able to bring themselves to smile when someone is um, being friendly. And I'm not talking, by the way, about, obviously we're in this post Weinstein era, and I think people have to be very careful what they say now in terms of, a man can't pay a compliment to a woman anymore. You have to be very careful with that sort of thing, but not to go too much off on a tangent. But yeah, just even okay. Let's say even between an extrovert man and a shy man, whatever. The point I'm making here is that there is a difference. Now, I mentioned social issues. I think a shy person, if their confidence develops, if they come around, at some point they can be more social. But I don't think they are antisocial. That insinuates a sort of hostility to other people, and I don't think shy people are hostile to other people. I think it's more a self-preservation thing. Whereas stuck-up people, they give the impression that they look down on others. So, for example, I've been in a situation where I've had to work with people I consider far more stuck-up than shy, and their body language is entirely standoffish. It's entirely not necessarily openly aggressive, but very standoffish and very. You feel like you're trying to be the one who's making communication all the time. Now, I don't think it's necessary to talk all the time, but when you're working with someone for 3 hours, it's absolute human nature that you're going to have some communication, even in terms of the working structure. And if that person is just completely standoffish, it is very off putting. I've always found that uncomfortable where I'm with someone who's very quiet all the time. I feel like I have to say something. Now, maybe that's my fault. Maybe there's no compulsion to do that. And it's something I'm sort of aware of. I'm thinking, well, actually, there's not a necessity to talk all the time. Maybe I shouldn't feel awkward about that. But I do think common sense dictates that if you're working with someone in close proximity for several hours, it is going to be a bit awkward if it's total silence. I mean, unless you're a monk in a seminary, that's going to be, it's just something that I think is makes the working environment difficult. Now, some people might, they might be tired, they might not want long conversations, and understandably, some people don't want to open up too much about their own background. That's totally understandable. But it isn't even about that, it's just about making small talk. Now, some people might say small talk is wasted. I disagree. I think it helps to build rapport. I think it helps to make a working day move faster. So I don't think it's a waste of time. I hope by talking about these two things that I've sort of laid out something for people to think about. Now, if you're a shy person, all I would say is I think most people can be understanding of shyness because they understand that it perhaps comes from a point of maybe you think the other person will judge you based on what you say. Maybe it's about confidence, maybe it's self-preservation. All those things are understandable, but I think what matters is that you have a basic sense of civil communication. So, for example, if someone says hello to you, say hello back. You don't have to get into a big conversation, but there's a certain degree of civility that comes with human communication that if you don't show and if you always look unhappy, people won't think, oh, why is that person unhappy? They'll think that person's stuck up because they'll think the person is looking down on others and that they hate being around others. So then other people start thinking, well, have I said something to offend this person? They won't look at it from a point of view of that person's unhappy about something. And here's the thing, even if you are unhappy about something, even if life isn't going well, even if someone has upset you, don't take it out on other people. I've had days where I've had really some very stressful situations. I've been let down by people, I've been frustrated. And, I'm not suggesting that I suddenly switch to being a Mr. Smiley Smiley, but what I'll do is I'll tell the other people why I'm upset, or at least the basic gist of it, so that they know it's not them. I think the worst thing you could do is say, I'm fine, when you're clearly not fine. Because people aren't stupid, they'll see through it. They'll know that your body language is speaking for itself. Um, so I think all of this just comes down to basic communication. I don't think that people should feel pressure to just speak to people they maybe don't know so well just for the sake of it. But I do think, for example, in a working environment, if you're working with someone for 3 or 4 or 5 hours on a shift and then you go for lunch or whatever, I think that it's just common sense that you're going to have some communication. But I've known people that just seem to have a problem with others, and they don't even express why. And I'm the sort of person, I give everyone the benefit of the doubt when I first meet them. I'm not an idiot, I'm pretty assertive, but I give everyone the benefit of the doubt because there's no reason not to. So I'm civil to everyone when I first meet them. Then there's people I might start to see another side of the personality and think, yeah, I've not much time for that person. And then I won't waste time with them. But I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. That's the way I am. It's not a facade, it's the way I am. So let me know your thoughts. If you personally feel that you are shy, I'd like to hear your perspective. Do you think it is important? Do you ever worry actually that people will think that you're stuck up? That could be an issue. I personally think that being shy is something that I could be sympathetic to. It's not everyone has self confidence. Not everyone knows exactly the right way to, or the conventional way to really open up, and nor should they have to. But I do think that people who are quiet all the time, they might think they're being reflective. Other people might start to think that they're judging others. And I must admit that if I'm around someone who's quiet the whole time, I will start thinking, is that person, have they got some problem with me? And maybe I shouldn't do that. Now, maybe that's my fault. Maybe it's something that I should not care about. But yeah, it's something I do think about. So if you're the sort of person who never ever makes small talk and you're quiet all the time, you should be aware that people will think that. They'll think that you are judging them. And maybe you're not. Maybe it's entirely a self preservation thing. But most people, I would say far more people, are talkative than silent. It's just part of human communication. So those are a few things to be aware of. Okay, let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching.